It's just amazing how we have tried to fit into these environments instead of creating these environments that fit us. We have been told, like, you're this, you're supposed to be this, whether it's social norms, family, whatever, teachers, it doesn't matter. Like, all of these things we've been told have tried to shape us. And so a lot of times when people come to me, they're like, I really don't know what brings me joy, or I really don't know who I am. And when they learn how they were created authentically, and the more we can understand ourselves and relay that, who we are, and accept ourselves and love ourselves through that in any type of relationship, whether it's work or personal, romantic, it's putting really our best self out there. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We're your hosts, Susan Robbins, certified epigenetic human performance coach,
and Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author. Together, we bring two perspectives, two styles, and one shared passion for epigenetics.
On this podcast, we delve into topics such as environment, nutrition, fitness, mindset, social dynamics, and trauma as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone.
We recognize that everyone's needs are unique. There are no one-size-fits-all solutions for your mind, body, and heart. The true magic lies within you.
So if you're ready to create a radiant life through epigenetics and reclaim your authentic self, then buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We are your hosts. I am Susan Robbins, certified epigenetic human performance coach, and I am here with my lovely co-host,
Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author.
This is a place where we talk about everything lifestyle and environment and how it relates to our genetic expression. And I'm going to let Kate take it from here today.
So today we have a treat for you, either for you veteran listeners who've been listening to Susan for a year or for some of the new visitors. We are going to be learning about Susan today, and specifically the pH360 health typing program that she does in her work. And it's just a really cool health type that I have now experienced because I've gone through Susan's whole protocol so that I can talk to her about this stuff on the podcast and share it with all of you. And it came from an original place of being interviewed back when Susan was the singular co-host. She interviewed me 3 different times, and then we met in person, and I was like, what is it that you do exactly? Because Susan's work is the variety that has a lot of nuance and complexity embedded in it, so it can't be told in an elevator pitch. It's a really intricate system, and there are a lot of different factors, some of which with the DNA stuff we won't be talking about today. We're going to simplify it for you guys by talking about this one pH360 bracket that Susan really specializes in and has become really masterful in when she works with her clients. You may have heard us talking about how we're both activators. That is part of this pH360 health typing, and that's how I found out I was an activator. So, Susan, maybe you can just start by telling us a little bit about what is pH360 and how did you find it? What got you excited to explore it more and get certified in it?
Sure. I think that the first thing I'm going to start with is epigenetics. And I've talked a bit about this a couple of times on the program. I did one on DNA a little while back, a couple months ago by myself, and I talk about genetics on there. But epigenetics is the science of how our lifestyle and our environment affect how our genes express. DNA, probabilities and propensities. It's your blueprint for what could potentially happen. What people tend to think is that the DNA controls us. This is going to happen to me. But the truth of the matter is we have control up to about 95% of how our DNA expresses, and that's epigenetics. That is lifestyle and environment. So every choice that you make is going to be turning up a gene or turning down a gene. And I can tell you from doing DNA for over 5 years, we all have some really good genetics and we all have some crappy genetics, right? So we want to be turning up the good stuff and we want to be down regulating the propensities that aren't so good, especially if they're already expressing. We don't want them to. That's your blueprint is your DNA. Then you have the epigenetics comes in. So that's like the software that programs it. Then you have your phenotype. Your phenotype is basically how everything is currently expressing. Your eye color, your hair color, your skin type, your height, your weight, right? That's how everything's expressing. That's where the pH360 comes in. The pH360 meets you how everything is currently expressing. And so the pH360 is an AI based platform. It's from Australia. So there really aren't a whole lot of people that know of its existence in the United States. There's over 1,000 coaches, but so minimal. I was one of maybe 10, if that many, when I was introduced to pH 4.5 years ago. And like I said, now there's over 1,000. It's like the most incredible thing that no one's heard about. And that was one of the reasons I actually started this podcast was to get the word out there that this is truly precision personalized health based on you and your epigenetic expression. So there's 15 layers of science in this algorithm. Things like, and they researched all of this to make sure that these these sciences actually had research backing them. So you have things like Chinese medicine, Ayurvedics, somatotypes, and that's the size and shape of your skeleton as a key factor in determining underlying physiology. Chronobiology, this is the timing. Nobody talks about timing. If you're doing all the right things at the wrong times for your body, you're not doing yourself any favors. It could actually be detrimental. So we want to be doing the right things at the right times. So all of these things, like I said, these 15 layers of science, we do an onboarding where DNA is a cheek swab. The pH360, I do a Zoom session, or if someone's here, I'll do something in person. But we measure things that are very precise because people say, I'll just send you measurements. Okay, no, we walk through this because it's so precise. Things like your skull with precise measurement, your jaw from here to here, your hands, but little activators, we have little tiny hands, right? And then smaller bones, but short femurs. We're going to measure things like your neck, which people don't realize is a big factor in diabetes. The rib cage, right underneath the pecs or the breasts, that's a big inflammation marker. And then we know the belly, around that visceral fat, another big marker. That's where we don't want all that body fat. And some health types are going to store more of their body fat around there. So as we're onboarding, then there's an extensive health questionnaire after we do the measurements. It looks at a little bit of family history, but it's asking eye color, hair color. Are you taking hormone therapy? For women, are you having regular periods, postmenopause, premenopause? Any kids? For men, are you doing hormone therapy, hair loss? All of these things are taken into account. What are your lifestyle things? How often are you currently working out? What would you like to do with your body? Do you want to lose body fat? Do you want to gain muscle mass? Do you want to lose fat and gain muscle? So all of these factors get taken into account. And the algorithm is saying, this is where this body needs support at this time. People are always looking at, back then, I was like, this doesn't matter. This is where you are now. These are the health concerns you have now. It asks, have you had cancer? If so, what type? Do you have thyroid issues? Like, again, all these things, Lyme disease, all these factors go in here. And so by the end of that questionnaire and all the measurements, we have created a unique profile for this individual. So there's no two people. You and I are both, there's numbers within this pH360 circle, and it goes in increments of 5 in 360 degrees. And you and I are the same number, Activator, but our profiles are so different
Yes.
because we're expressing differently.
Can you speak a little bit more into how that is? Because even though you've explained it to me a bit, I'm still sort of like, "Oh my gosh, we're still the exact same type and number," and yet we do notice that we have some similarities,
Mhm.
but we really do express differently in our lives. Our personality structure, I think, is really what
Oh, yeah.
is different. So can you speak to how we got bumped into different aspects of the exact same type?
Sure. So you have again the pH360 embryological wheel of creation. And that's what this is based around. It's how you're formed in the womb and the predominant hormones that drive you.
Mhm,
When we understand what drives us and how these hormones affect us, it becomes a whole like you hear the personality types, but it's all biologically driven. Okay.
mhm,
Now, you have your primary health type, which we are activators, and that's the predominant derm layer that developed in the womb. So for us, it's the mesoderm. That's your musculoskeletal system. So we are the natural athletes. You've been a professional athlete. I have never not been athletic, right? We are driven by our predominant hormones, which are noradrenaline and testosterone. It makes us competitive. It makes us need movement. It's our number one priority. And we're the only health type that has the top two priorities of food and fitness, and out of six different health types. But what do people think? I have to be healthy. I have to concentrate just on diet and exercise. There's four other priorities. If you're missing them, you're missing the full picture because we are such a complex system. You have to look at the body as a complex system. So back to the health type circle. So our predominant is the activator. But we also have secondaries. Now, we are right on the cusp of another health type called the connector. I am hugely connector secondary. I think for a while I was so cusp that when Dr. Cam started coaching me when I first found pH360 or they found me, we had to actually dip into some connector recommendations to tweak to get me ideal. And I still follow those principles because there is so much of me, brain wise and body wise, that also teeters on that cusp of connector. With you, not as much. You have such a, we joke about this. I'm the bull in the china shop. I am activator in and out, connector, talk forever. I need connection. And you're very thoughtful. You're like, I need more information. I need data. One of your the things I hear you say most to me, I'm not comfortable with that. That just doesn't feel comfortable, which is so diplomat. And when you look at some of the statements in your profile, especially around work or mine, they're very diplomat heavy. So I have a little bit of diplo in me, but you have a very diplomat secondary. That's
mhm,
so obvious, which makes you great at what you do because you listen to people, you think, you can empathize, you can put plans together for them. For me, the more in your face reactive made me a great police officer because I'm able to move like that and you're like, I got to think on things, right?
mm,
So it's funny how our secondaries, and again, this is why you'll really see a secondary in the genius or the work section. Genius is
mhm,
what we call work. You'll see how these natural flows go. We're just probably not going to recommend something like that for you. And for me, sitting in an office, I go crazy all the time. I have to get out of here and take walks every, every hour to just get out of here. So that's why we're so different. And also, when you look at the genetics of us, I have very overactive neurotransmitters, and you're more on the normal side with the breakdown of the neurotransmitters. But I'm very slow breakdown with the COMT gene, and it makes me I feel it. I'm amped up a lot. And different foods, high protein, which I need more of, but high protein amps me up even more.
mhm,
And for you, like you can eat that higher protein, you're steadier, and you'll still have the propensity for some reaction because of that testosterone and adrenaline can shoot up. So you still have that. But you tend to have that kind of secondary calmness about you where you don't tend to react as much as I do.
Okay. And was some of it informed by my actual life experience? Like having a lot of relational trauma in my history has created a propensity for me to sometimes do like fawning or people pleasing behaviors for safety. And so I have done so much work around identifying and healing those patterns. But as a child, I learned really quick that I need to be good and compliant and sweet and not too much and
Yeah.
difficult. And so has that somehow shaped that secondary aspect of me?
I think it's shaped the primary, the activator in you. Because if you look at the activator again, we're more reactive. We get hangry when we don't have food, right? And so I say in any relationship, whether it's male, female, professional or what, I vent. Hear me out. Don't take anything personally when I get back to you. Because again, it's like we're made for movement. We don't have a lot of time to do things. And that was me most of my life. But again, on that connector cusp, the connector is such a people pleaser. They're also chameleons. I will shift into whoever I need to be to make everybody happy.
I see.
And
Okay.
so I think there's probably a combination of that because I did that too for the majority of my life. I would, people, you're too much, Susan. I would dial back because it's too much for people to handle. Now I'm like, if I'm too much for you, then I'm not your people. And that's okay. I'm not gonna be, like, yelling in someone's face, but I'm just a very direct communicator, and I listen to you, and you're like, you say all these gentle things, and I'm going, "That's exactly what I wanna say, but it doesn't come out that way." It comes out like, boom, and I think for you because we both had major childhood traumas, but they were different. Mine was around loss, so I had to chameleon and pull back and be what everybody wanted to have those connections I so desperately needed that I lost from losing my mother at a very early age and then being abandoned by my dad. Yours is different. So it caused you to work that a little bit differently, but being that right on that edge of connector probably is, but I can help you as that connector part. I can help you dial that back and people please so that you
Mm,
feel safe.
I see.
But the diplomat more definitely along the work lines and the research data, I don't care about that stuff. Just tell me what I need to know, and you're like, "I need more." And again, that's where I just saw as soon as we started talking, I'm like, "Oh, there's such a huge diplo secondary." And then when I looked at your profile, yes.
Yeah.
But there's still anytime you have a health type that is on the cusp of another health type, you'll generally, not always, but generally see some traits there or that you might have to pull over to work with them. You'll see that. I see a lot of my diplomats who a lot of diplomats can be, depending on where they fall on the scale, can again be very more autonomous, not need much more connection. But my ones up towards guardian are all like everything's family, family, family. I need that. My other
Mm,
ones down towards sensor. Get away from me. They might be time you bug me.
yeah. Okay, so before we go too much further, for folks who don't know the 6 health types, can you go around the wheel and just give us a a little brief sampler kind of platter of the flavors of each of these 6 health types? Like, what do they look like emotionally, physically, psychologically? How do you know when you're seeing someone what their type is?
Yeah. So the activators, again, we're like the natural athletes run on noradrenaline, testosterone, direct communicators, very innovative. We're idea people. I can come up with ideas all day long. Planning them, whole other thing. Don't tend to be, true activators don't tend to be as much of a planner, more in the moment and spontaneous and great at brainstorming and then taking that action. But I like to have someone that can plan that out for me. Tell me what I need to do and I'm on it. That's your activator, right? All action. Tend to have the shorter femurs. If you go into a CrossFit gym, you're going to see a lot of activators. Usually more of an hourglass type shape, a good V up at the top, really nice musculature. And then they're going to be, when they're down towards a crusader, which is another health type, they're going to tend to usually be a lot leaner and more endurance focused. We're up towards the connector, a little bit beefier. Like you and I, we're not little, tiny, like we've got beef, right? We build the muscle easily, and we're actually made more for power. Now, can we do endurance? Anybody can train for whatever, right? But we're really made for that power, agility, and speed.
Mhm.
And then you come into the connector. The connector is part part activator and part guardian. So part mesomorph, part endomorph. The guardian is the true endomorph. These are your bigger people, typically going to have a rounder face. The activator has more of a square jaw due to the testosterone exposure in the womb, but the guardian's more of your rounder face. The connector tends to have more of a heart shaped face, and they're going to be typically your shortest people. And you'll see they'll taper down a lot of the times. I've had other connectors that I've worked with, and I'm going, "Are they really connector?" And then I'll have them send me a photo, and you really see, like, the barrel chest and the bigger arms, and then the very short legs, and again, we're t smaller hands, a little bit of a bigger bone structure than the activator. Then you come in, and they're again, connection, they run on oxytocin, your intimacy hormone. So hugely important to them, which is one of the reasons a lot of times they will be your chameleon or your people pleasers because they're connecting. That's how they connect. They're easily distracted, very hard to focus. That's me to a T. Multitask like crazy, but it makes them great problem solvers because they can see outside the box. A lot of connector kids will get their ADHD because they're so all over the place, but you let them burn that off, then they can really dial in and focus. So, where the top two priorities for the activator are the activity first, fitness first, and then food to fuel all that activity. With the connector, it's the mind to help create focus. So that's their priority because if they can't focus, it's really creating a lot of stress with this body.
Mm.
What am I missing there? Great multitaskers. Okay. And they're fun. They're your fun people. They're the ones that are gathering everybody together. The more, the merrier. Let's go have a good time. And then you have the guardian. Like I said, this is a true endomorph. These are your mama bears and papa bears. And you can have the guardians tend to be all over. I've had some that are very short. They're the ones that are going to carry body fat a little bit everywhere. Your guardian, your connector women, you'll see a lot of pear shape there. But the guardian women and men, they're just bigger people. They're gonna have the cigar fingers, right? Shorter, like smaller palms, beefy calves, really beefy calves, but they're your gentle giants. They run on the hormone called prolactin, which is what's released by women when they breastfeed. It's nurturing. So they're all about, I need to take care of everybody. I want to hold you, squeeze you, come to me. They're they're just, like I said, like your gentle giants. And everybody needs guardians in their life because they take care of us. And that's why they are bigger. They're going to carry more muscle, they're going to carry more body fat. And the reason why was back in the caveman days, right? They were the ones that were taking care of everybody back in the cave, where the activators are out there hunting and gathering and all. These were the protectors. So they had to store to be around for everybody. So these people, these and the diplomats, which I'll go into next, are your biggest non responders to all these generic recommendations. They're going to be more prone, they're the prolactin and insulin is their other predominant hormone. So they're very prone to things like insulin resistance. They're prone to thyroid issues. They're prone to liver issues. A lot of these they're bigger organs and they're going to be more prone to these type of issues. And you would look and go, okay, this person's really overweight. They're so big. But when you dial in a guardian, this body is actually the most resilient of all the health types. And I've seen guardians out on hikes, again, some really big people. And you're like, how are they going to do this 10-mile hike? They get into their flow and they can rock along, right? Where I'm like, I shoot out like a rabbit, jackrabbit, and then I'm like, okay, take a little break, and then I shoot out like a jackrabbit. Again, this is how we're all made. they're super, super strong. Think of strongman competitions. There's your guardians. Okay. They're just the big, strong people. Okay.
So I have something interesting about the guardian to contribute here. So
Okay.
you and I share a guardian client.
We,
And something that before I really knew about the health type, something that was really striking to me about this is you told me that he was exercising at the wrong time of day for his body, and that if he were to exercise in the morning, it would be worse for him than if he weren't to exercise at all, because it would create so much inflammation in his body if he
so
were
much
to move
stress.
at the wrong time. And so
Yeah.
you were helping him to get his movement later in the day and to have
Yes.
a certain type of movement, like it was hiking for him. And that was
Yep.
the least inflammatory and the most supportive for his guardian body. And so as an activator, when I like to get up and move first thing in the morning, I was like, "Oh my gosh, how wild is this that there's actually a wrong type of day for certain health types, or maybe for all health types, that is worse for you than not moving at all." Because I've
Yeah.
been under
Yeah.
the understanding of we all need to be moving whenever you can get it, however you can get it, just move. And so this was the first time I had ever heard that that's actually not right, and it was this
Yeah.
client that helped to teach me that.
Yeah. He's fantastic. And you see from these guardians that they put everybody else first because it's I have to make sure everyone else is safe and taken care of and protected, and they always come last. And they store everyone else's stress. So when they have people around them that are stressed, that's creating more on them. And then the insulin, right? They start to get the insulin resistance. I see a lot of liver enzymes start to react. Again, thyroid. And what are they told? Because they're putting on weight and putting on weight, and they're told exercise more. Get up at 5 a.m., get your ass to the gym, work as hard as you can, and then you need to be eating every 2 hours. Or on the flip side, you need to go keto, carnivore, and you need to cut out all the carbs, which is what everybody down to MDs and functional medicine, when you have insulin resistance, like you need to cut the carbs. Carbs are all bad. But this body already has naturally high levels of cortisol, especially in the mornings. And things that like high protein increase cortisol. Exercise is going to put stress on that body in the morning. So then they're tanked by the afternoon. And this is more of a night owl type body. So when you tell this person, have a slower start to your day, don't set up a 6 a.m. meeting or a 7 a.m. meeting. Don't go to the gym at 5 a.m. Let's let you start your day a little more chill with as little stress as possible. And they actually start to gain energy as the day goes. And then by afternoon, that's when they're starting to peak, where before they're reaching for the candy bars, the sodas, the caffeine, the coffee, or the naps because they're exhausted. And they're like, oh, I just worked out hard. No, you trained at the wrong time. You move them to a little bit later. They can do, I have one guardian female, and she likes to just swim, a nice chill swim in the morning. Okay, as long as it's nice and easy, go for a nice little walk. Get outside, nice and chill. But anything, weightlifting, anything higher intensity, you move that to a little bit later in the morning or into the afternoon, and their body composition changes. It starts coming off. Their energy is steadier and peaking through the day instead of tanking.
Mm.
Their sleep is better. You just see all these changes. And it's really and he was down. I His wife just had a baby, right, like, 2 weeks after we started, but "I'm not perfect, but I'm I'm trying to stay to the foods and the principles," and he was down 11 pounds, and he hadn't been dropping anything, and he's moving. I have another guardian client, again, these are the biggest non-responders to the generic stuff. They're just told to do all these things, and they feel worse. They may have initial weight loss in the beginning, especially if they're eating a lot of junk, if they're doing like a keto or carnivore, but then it starts to go the other way a lot of times. And they're like, I'm doing all the things. But my other one, he went to get his medical checkup. And he's a male in his 60s. And he his kidney numbers were so bad, like indicating kidney disease, that they referred him to a nephrologist. He has an appointment for next month. So he called me. He'd worked with me several years ago and had dropped 75 pounds. He had an issue with alcohol back then. He has since been in rehab. He told me today, we just met a little bit ago, 999 days sober. He's now perfect guardian, helping everybody else, right? But he had to focus back on himself again. And 2 weeks now, what Shay is the app of the pH360, will typically recommend for someone in a metabolic state such as this that needs so much support. His insulin resistance, he couldn't get his blood sugar under 100. Sleep was like he was sleeping, but he's getting up at an ungodly early hour and just wasn't getting enough sleep. And we started turning this around, pulled out some supplements that were really, really good. I made sure that nothing was contraindicated with kidneys. And it was all like, these are things that are actually good because we went back through his DNA and just things to help support him. And the profile will actually pull the proteins out. And I saw his bicep today and he's leaning out. They don't lose all this muscle because they have so much muscle under all this body fat that's protected. And I said, I can actually see your bicep today. Look at that. He's down 22 pounds in 2 weeks, but it takes him more to a plant based, which seems totally counterintuitive. I'm going to load you up on vegetables, low glycemic fruits, and minimal starchy, if so, early in the day, a big lunch, moderate breakfast if they want it, and then a tiny dinner that's veggie based. It takes so much stress off. He just sent me the last week of his food diary, and we have him checking his glucose levels in the morning. He went from over 100 fasting in the morning. One day was 94, all the rest were in the mid to low 80s.
Wow. That's
I
incredible.
mean,
Yeah.
and the 22 pounds, and I feel good, and he wasn't moving at all before. We just have him moving. He likes to move in the evening after dinner because it's nice out there, and start with just 10 minutes because we don't want to stress this body any more than it already is. So it's just a very gradual, just to add 5 minutes, add another 5 minutes until you're up to about 45 minutes, and then we'll gradually increase the weights. So that's your guardian. That's your guardian body. How it's even functional medicine people, I've had functional medicine clients, and they're like, this goes against everything I'm taught in functional medicine school. Exactly.
Mhm.
And that's why it doesn't work for those people because you're not looking at the individual, you're looking at a basic generic protocol for this condition and what you're seeing in the labs. Where the
Right.
pH is this body needs this because of where it is exactly at this time. And it changes as you change. So we're going to remeasure him. He'll have his new weight in 2 more weeks, which will be 6 weeks in, 4 weeks in, 4 weeks in because he's already losing so much. The algorithm will pick up on inflammation being reduced, risk factors being reduced, and he'll start to see some things filter back in. Proteins will gradually come back in. So it's really a beautiful thing. Then we have the diplomat, which is part guardian and part of another health type called the sensor. Sensor is your true ectomorph. I say these are the people like in school, we call the bean poles. They're typically taller. There's a few short ones here and there. Typically taller. They have the long, slender fingers. Think of the ballet. And they like flow. They're typically not big into the like high intensity stuff. Some of them will if they're on that cusp of that diplo, but they typically are very good with flow because they have their central nervous system developed first or predominantly. And so very overactive central nervous system. And so you'll see these sturdy kind of looking bodies of diplomats that are up towards guardian that are going to have the bigger bones, carry a little bit more fat. And then you have the ones that are down towards the sensor that tend to be taller, leaner, longer hands and feet. And they tend to be a little more autonomous. We're up towards the guardian. They're, like I said, more family oriented. And in the middle, like in the middle, they could go either way. And they're your biggest non-responder to, was it, I think 40% or 60% non-responder to most exercise programs. And again, they're those early mornings for them. When I'm working with a diplomat, they're like, I have been told to get up early all the time to finally have permission to sleep in a little bit and have a slow start to my day. Oh, they blossom and feel like new people.
Mhm.
And their predominant hormone is serotonin. So they're all about the comfort. And you'll hear that. Like I said to you, this isn't comfortable. This doesn't feel like, oh. And their number one priority, where the guardian I forgot to touch on, is social guardian. I want my circle of people. The diplomat, their top priority is actually place, their surroundings. Who asks about that? So I always ask when I first start working with someone or even in a consult, and I'm just thinking, I wonder, this sounds like a diplomat to me, the way they're talking, or I can see how they look. And I'll ask, what's your home like? Is your home your sanctuary? Is your home cluttered? Is your office cluttered? Clutter for these people creates so much stress that they'll hold on to it in the form of fat from all the excess cortisol. So the diplomats, again, they're another one that we move to. A lot of them say, I keep being told I have to eat breakfast. I have to eat breakfast. And a lot of times they don't want breakfast. They tend to do really well with intermittent fasting. Activators don't, because we're burning so much. I'm averaging 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day right now. I don't know if I even get close to that, but because we're burning. Um, but these other people, not typically as much. Now, if they're training, the profile is going to pick up on that and adjust accordingly to how much someone's training too. It add in a little bit more protein. But again, these people are told, especially the women, more protein, more protein, more protein. Pack it in there. And they're having like protein shakes all day long, along with their meals with all this protein. And they're like, I can't lose weight. I'm tired. Too much protein tends to ferment in their gut. It's a very long digestive tract. Think of like your Viking people. And like I said, I have a couple shorter ones in there, but most are a little bit taller. But you really dial in their chronobiology, have them in bed a little bit later, up a little bit later, move that lunch to the big meal when the body's really able to digest, lighten up that dinner to just a nice moderate amount of protein and lots of veggies. Veggies being a key again for these couple of bodies, veggies being a key component in all meals and some fruit, and these bodies respond. I have people that haven't lost weight in decades, nothing off, or will text me. I went out in Washington. The scale moved. I'm down 8 pounds. I'm down this. Holy crap. It happens.
Mhm.
Because they're so frustrated. And that frustration creates more stress. And what does happen in stress? Store. So we want to create some nice and peace and calm for them, starting with their home, their work environments, no chaos. Have their downtime. They like a lot of research. They're not going to make decisions quickly. Got to think on things where I'm like, I know what I want and I'm doing it or I'm not. Again, that reactivity as opposed to I need to take in everything so I can make a plan. They're your planners. So, and I think that's why we gel, because you have that planning diplo brain, even though you still have a lot of activator and can help come up with ideas. I'm like, we could do this. I know how to take this action. Let's just do it. And you're like, I have to put this together. So it really, I love working with a diplomat brain because they can be the plan and I can help me implement ideas and then take action. So it's
Mhm.
really, and it's great when you use this stuff in the workplace,
Mhm.
these people's strengths. So the last two you've got next, the sensor, again, your true ectomorph. Now these, again, a very overactive central nervous system. That's their predominant dermal area, that formed. They run on predominantly a hormone that most people haven't heard of called vasopressin. And it's really about creating safety in this body. And you think like each one of these health types has an animal associated with it. The sensor is the bird. Look at the little skinny legs, right? And he's like always looking around and then pick, 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 pick. pick, 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 pick all day. That's ideally a sensor. They don't have a robust digestive system. So every sensor, everybody thinks it's all the overweight people. Everything caters towards you need to lose weight. My sensors come to me saying, I need to gain weight. I can't gain weight because they're blowing through things and the brain doesn't shut off. And so they can have real sensory overload. They need that downtime. People, if you if you have a sensor friend and they're just someone that's very sensitive to too much noise, too much crowds, people, they're like a very small circle. They're super monogamous. And you're like, you have to come out. Let's go out. Come on, let's go out. You're really pulling them out of this zone. And there'll be the ones that say, I'm peopled out. I got to go. They're just like, they're done. They're checked out. I had a crusader friend on this cusp of sensor, and he would go out, he would do group hikes. We go out dancing, and then he's, I got to go people out now. And he would go home sometimes in the middle of the day on a beautiful sunny day, close his curtains, lay in the dark to just stop it all. And so they do well with flow yoga, Pilates, again, like dance, Qigong, anything that's bringing flow in. And their top priority is their mind. We need to calm the central nervous system. And so I'll see when they come to me, they might have trouble gaining weight, but there's every single sensor I've had has digestive issues, diarrhea, constipation, sometimes both, a lot of reflux, a lot of anxiety like crazy. And they're like, I've had it since I was a kid. Yeah, no kidding. So when you can bring calm to this body, and a lot of them are doing again what's told either intermittent fast and just eat 2 big meals a day, or eat 3 times a day, but pack in as much protein as you can. This body, because of being so lean, they actually do need more protein. They also need carbohydrates for the brain, but you want to space it out into small portions through the day that they can digest. So I have one woman, she's 73. It's never too late, people. And she was a mess. She was working with a specialist with her thyroid, her hormones, and I believe, and her doctors actually believe she was very over medicated. And she was under 100 pounds. I think she's 5'7", 5'8". And she had so much anxiety. Like she was getting worse and worse and worse. And it was like, dial back your T3 medication, your thyroid. Maybe it's that. And she's like, I can't, my stomach's not right. And I said, let's just concentrate on the pH360. She ended up in the ER. And she called me on the way. She's like, I'm headed to the ER. So I supported her. I said, you do what you need to do, but when you get out, we need to dial in your food. She was trying to eat these big meals. And I'm like, this is part of the problem here. So she came out of the hospital. Her her private doctor and the ER doctor pulled her off of all the medication and hormones. And I said, there's a couple supplements you absolutely need to stay on. And they agreed, like I was working in conjunction with her doctors, talking, we were communicating through her and then through ourselves. And I said, let's dial you in on the pH, and we need to do things that are very calming for you. So she emailed me. She is now, do you know, anxiety stopped. She felt like a new person. She couldn't even go out. She lives in Hawaii, and she couldn't even go out to watch the whales because she felt so terrible. And she's like, all these things I love, and I have no life. She was not in a good place. And when I saw her last time, she had finished the program and she was just doing amazing. And we keep in touch. So when she just told me, she said she's up 7 pounds. She feels fantastic. She looks fantastic. And she's like, I'm so grateful for you and for pH360. Eating these small meals throughout the day was a game change for her. Doing things that calm her mind. And luckily she does meditation and all that. It was like, let's do a little more of that. Things that bring her flow, get out on her paddleboard out there and just chill and hang with the right people at the right time and be okay not wanting to socialize, like bringing this joy back into her. And she's a new person. It's mind blowing to me. But that's your sensor. And she's not the only one. I had one, Jessica, if you want to listen to a good one. We recorded hers last year, podcast with her, and she was full of anxiety and just horrible digestive problems. And we dialed in her food. She actually put on some weight, which freaked her out at first, but it was healthy.
Mhm.
And so it's not being skinny doesn't mean healthy because that's what people look and go, look how thin you are. What are you worried about? And they're like, on the inside, I'm crying because I can't turn off my brain and my body is a mess.
Mhm. Yeah, there's some cultural norms or standards that are really detrimental for certain body types.
Right.
Yeah,
So you have
absolutely.
that. And then the last one, I am the Crusader Whisperer, but is the Crusader. And these, think of like a hard driven CEO or an engineer, like they're in their head and they are part activator, they're part sensor. So they've got that central nervous system that's overactive. Their brain, again, they don't shut off. They're very analytical, very future focused. They are 100% dopamine driven. They need purpose. They need efficiency. They need, I love to work with Crusaders because they're like, tell me what I need to do, line it up. It just needs to make sense to me. Same with a sensor. Everything has to be logical and make sense. And then they're on it. They're very skeptical at first. They can be very critical. They can come across anybody down at the bottom of that circle, the sensors, Crusaders, can come across as a little bit aloof. But if you think about it, when you're so brain driven, it's harder with the emotion. But if they really work at it and really create that awareness around it, they can bring out some emotion, but they're always going to be that, like the man that, like the activator vents to, and he's got to solve the problem. And it's,
Mhm.
I don't need to solve the problem. I just want to vent, but they're like, but this is what I do. I know how to fix problems because I want to be efficient. I can think about this. But they need that purpose. They need to understand the why. They're perfectionists and they have much less need for connection. Give them their personal time. They need that. You'll see a lot of these people are going to be endurance athletes, triathletes, your runners, your bikers. I'm going to go out and cycle 50 miles. Yeah, I'd rather stick a fork in my eye. But that's what they enjoy because that's the time they're out of their head.
Mhm.
When you can, and then you say, like, have you thought about journaling, meditation? Oh my God, no, I can't sit with these thoughts. But when you, again, mind number one on this one, when you bring calm to this body and to this brain, have them create a schedule, have them create a structure to their day. They're very routine oriented. So you have to kind of work with them to plan, okay, what if this goes awry? How are you going to work with it? And then they have that purpose and you really see Crusader in flow. But the blinders come on when they have a project or a goal, and there is nothing that stops them from achieving that. That's all they see. So it can be hard in relationships. Um, if you can support that and have them become aware that my relationships still matter. It can't all be about the goal. Then they're a little more rounded. So yeah, those are, and for them, they, again, I see a lot of them. I've worked with a lot of the Crusaders. You get them into their flow with the timing on everything. 3 meals, 2 snacks. They burn like crazy. They have to have that food, and this is the type that tends to forget to eat because they're so driven on the goal.
Mhm.
So, really get them around eating properly, and I see a lot of them doing intermittent fasting, a lot of them doing super low carb and carnivore. With that brain, doesn't they tend to do better when you add some more of the complex carbohydrates in there, and the good essential fatty acids and omega-3s. They really, really start to thrive, and we try to pull them away more from things like caffeine, drugs, can be more overstimulation for them and really be more harmful to them, less productive than if they're not. So
Okay.
that's your 6 health types. And
Amazing. So that wheel, in the interest of time, I've created in my little brain here, my planning brain. I have 3 questions that I want to just ask to end and wrap this up, but also provide maybe some of the listeners with some answers to what they might be wondering now after hearing this. So, my first question is, is there always only one secondary? Because as you were talking, I was like, yeah, I guess I can see myself in the diplo brain.
Yeah.
But I also really resonated with sensor, with like anxiety, a lot of thoughts, and introverted, needing to
Mhm.
close myself off from people. I was like, that sounds like me too, but I'm very clearly not that bird body type.
Right.
And then I also feel like there's some crusader in me because I can be super type A and really driven. I'm an entrepreneur, like I have my own business, I can be really goal focused. So this is an issue I've had with a lot of like personality. Like I do not fit into the Enneagram. I keep
Yeah.
having people who are Enneagram specialists who are like, I'm going to type you. And then they're like, oh, you don't type well, do you? And so I'm feeling that a little bit here too. Could I be a little bit of all of these? I don't really feel
Absolutely.
I don't resonate with guardian and I don't resonate with connector, but I pretty much resonate with the others, even though I know
Now,
I'm close to connector in my number.
a couple of things. Number one, yes, we all have parts of every one of them in us. So if you actually look at the pH360 wheel, there is actually lines going from each one to the other, which
Mhm.
makes us whole. But we have our predominant, there's a secondary, there also is a tertiary or third, but we all have parts. You're going to see little parts of every one of them in.
Okay.
But your body is the driver of your predominant. So you're not built like a sensor. We are not built like sensors. We are opposite. So you would never fit in. And it was so funny. I had one of my sensors argue with me. She said, I'm telling you, I'm an activator. And I said, I'm telling you, you're not an activator. And then we were on a session and she's like, I'm just going to disagree with this. And, and I said, okay, but I'm telling you. So we're on this call and she lifted her arm up and you couldn't even get her whole arm in the frame. And I go, hey, pick your arm back up. And she goes like this, right? And I said, and look at mine. And she was like super long and lean. And I go, and look at me. I'm like from here to here. I could fit half my body into this frame and I'm muscle. And and she goes, oh my God, I get it. It's like, I said, look
Ah.
at the difference, stand up. And so she's like longer and leaner and I'm compact, right?
Mhm.
And so we just laughed. She goes, I won't argue anymore about it. Like she got it. I said, that's the difference. That's the health type. You've got those. I said, look at your fingers compared to my cigars or my little tiny things, right? Like kid size. And so that's your predominant. Again, that's how you were formed in the womb, that predominant derm layer. So now, could your anxiety be driven more from your childhood experiences? Probably not from the sensor, but there you have your epigenetics coming in, right? Where those experiences are turning some things up, some other things down. That's
Mhm.
what I think.
Okay.
And I'm going to disagree with you when you say, I don't have any guardian in me. Girl, when we set up our schedule in the beginning to talk about to talk about what we were going to have as availability to get people to for interviews on our podcast and for you and I to be, and you're like, oh, yeah, this time is totally blocked out. That is family. This is all family. I'm with my family on the weekends. This is my close circle.
Mhm. Yeah, that does sound very guardianish. Yeah.
It's guardianish, connectorish. That's your, yeah. So
Okay.
again, we're going to have
So
lots
it's
of options.
possible that I definitely identify as an activator for sure, and I agree with you in the body aspect. And so the mental aspect, it could be a mix of all the types and maybe
Everything. Yeah, everything is going to be, you're going to
and
have
this
different parts.
And this leads me into my second question, which is from a psychological background that I have, there's sort of the shadow side and the bright side of everything. I call it the shadow side and sunny side. It's two sides of the same coin. And I think it's a continuum where we can express in the sort of shadow quality of things, which is the more unhealed aspect, or we can express in the more healed aspect, and it can look very different. And so I'm curious here if you have, say, a crusader, is there like a less healthy version of a crusader and a more healthy version of a crusader? You're sliding on that continuum to say, this is you, but you're expressing so much in the shadow that we need to bring you a little more into the light so that you can really embody the gifts of this health type.
Yeah, I think exactly what you're talking about is being in flow
Mhm.
and a health type that's out of flow.
Mhm.
So usually people come to me, they're out of flow. I was out of flow living the lifestyle of a diplomat most of my life. I got in flow living the lifestyle of the activator, being the morning person. I used to be the last one off the dance floor. Now I'm like, 9 o'clock, come around, I gotta go home. Need to go
Mhm.
to sleep, right? If the band starts at 7, I'm good. If it starts at 8, oh, that's a little sketch, right? So how we like, it's just amazing how we have tried to fit into these environments instead of creating these environments that fit us. We have been told, like, you're this, you're supposed to be this, whether it's social norms, family, whatever, teachers, it doesn't matter. Like, all of these things we've been told have tried to shape us. And so a lot of times when people come to me, they're like, I really don't know what brings me joy, or I really don't know who I am. And when they learn how they were created authentically, so you have, if you want to use your crusader as an example, a crusader without a purpose, without a goal, they're like a fish out of water.
Mhm.
They're stressed, they
Mhm.
don't sleep well, they don't they start to lose that drive. But when they have a purpose, they have a goal, they go from being that out of flow, or as you would say, in that shadow, to I'm so on it, and now life is like blooming again.
Mhm.
So it's just finding someone out of flow, helping them be their authentic self, embrace who they are. If you are a guardian or a diplomat up towards guardian or a connector over towards guardian, and you have a bigger body and you look like you said, all these societal norms that skinny is best. These are bodies that are strong and sturdy and resilient, and they love people. Like, embrace that. It doesn't matter if you're going to be a size 2. What if you're a size 10 and you're a rock with all that
Mhm.
muscle and that strength so you can protect and take care of the people that you love?
So it's about finding the highest expression of the type that you authentically are. So the more close to your authentic expression you get, the brighter your projection of that body type will be into the world.
Yeah, and you're gonna create less stress in this body, and that's what it's all about. We had the conversation yesterday with the thyroid specialist, and he was talking about it's all about the stressors. Any of those priorities I talked about, they're potential stressors for
Mhm.
these health types. And if you're constantly feeding those stressors, why do you think you're underweight or overweight or can't turn this brain off and feel so out of flow that you don't even want to set a goal because you're so miserable? Or an activator, my dear friend, she's so stressed, and she was hit with a couple of injuries and she couldn't move. Just like an activator that can't move? Oh, shoot me now. I broke a thumb doing cleans in CrossFit several years ago. I had this cast on and I was like, "Oh, I can still do pull-ups from my fingertips." And I
Ah,
literally was doing pull-ups from my
ah,
fingertips. I
aw.
tore ligaments at a cow branding in 2 places in my ankle, so I was on the rower with one leg.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not hard at all, right?
I'm facing some of that as an activator because I have 2 knee surgeries coming up in the next few months, and
Yep,
there's something inside of me that's, "Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to do my walks that I love, my hikes, I'm not gonna be able to move." And then I'm starting to get creative with, maybe you can, but just in different ways. So
yeah,
I can
for
really,
different activity.
and to remember that it's temporary. Like we do these repairs so that we can have activity in the future and age well and have a body with healthy
Yeah,
longevity. Because an activator,
absolutely.
I'm gonna wanna be skiing moguls in my 80s. So this is how
Girl,
we get there.
preach.
Okay.
Right?
So my third question for you that I think a lot of the listeners might be wondering about is compatibility between the signs. So dating, friendship, partnerships, business work, are there certain health types that jive really well together? And would you caution other health types to stay away from each other?
Oh, okay. So, this one's a kind of a tough one. Now, I would say I don't know the episode number off the top of my head, but Ann Larson from pH360. She is the relationships queen of pH360. And it was very early on. She might be around episode 4. But we did a podcast on this, the relationships, like, around the health types. And then we did another one later on sex, and it wasn't like sex, but intimacy with the different health types. So I was just like, you might wanna make sure there's no small kids around because you never know what I might say or somebody else might say. But so we've had a couple of those on there around that, and the second one we did around the intimacy, I thought was so fascinating, and maybe it's the first one. Oh god, I'm so confused. But listen to both people because 'cause they're both wonderful. But she said, "Ask a potential mate these questions that we never think about. We don't, what's your favorite color? Oh, you like that kind of food? Do you like to do that activity? How about, are you a night owl or are you a morning person?"
Yeah.
Think of the couple we interviewed yesterday. He's a
Mhm.
morning, she's a night owl. She was doing the morning thing, wrecking her, Diplo Crusader. He was Crusader, she's diplomat. And she started the program and he was just wonderful support for her. The good thing is both of them are more future focused planning. So that's a great matchup there. But if you have someone that's super driven and early and the other person tries to come into that, it's really hard because you're taking them out of their flow.
Right. So if you're opposites, then you need to have a sense of respect for the differences between you and say, I think I said this yesterday, like there's the Venn diagram of this is who I am, this is who you are. And in the space where we overlap, we have a good give and take kind of reciprocity, but I'm not trying to make you like me.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So you'll have that and you'll have, and again, I've worked with a lot of couples. I love working with couples because I have never had a couple relationship pull apart from doing PhD 60 together. They come closer because it starts to make sense. Oh, this is why you're this way.
Hmm.
And you find that respect and it makes that love grow deeper. I've worked with people who they were like leering at each other in the beginning, weren't sitting close, and by the end, it's a whole different dynamic. And I had one get back with her girlfriend because it's my biology. You put your pickleball stuff in my place and it pissed me off. As a diplomat, she's like, this is my space. And they would argue about it and they split. And they actually got back together. And she's now they joke about it. You have your pickleball space. And she's like, it's my biology. I have to.
Yeah.
But respecting that for me, and I joke as being the Crusader Whisperer, that's typically what I would end up dating. And they're very future focused and very much the overthinkers. I am complete opposite. I'll plan, but it has to be something fun I want to plan. Otherwise, I'm like the anti-planner. And I like in the moment, like things. And again, it's an overthinking. And now the good thing is we're both morning types. We're both very active. They'll tend to be a little more endurance based, and I'm like, "No, let's do a little more power." But you'll have some it can really mesh well, but you have to really respect each other to really work with that because that's very different. Someone who is very future focused and someone who's very in the moment.
Hmm.
And you can come together on that and help that future person and that overthinker loosen up a little bit
Yeah.
and learn to be a little more spontaneous
Yeah.
and maybe help the activator plan just a little bit and maybe think a little bit before you make a decision because it's not, sometimes it helps to think things through. That can be a really beautiful synergy. But you have the activator up towards a connector, especially who needs more affection, attention, more of that touchy feely. And if you have a crusader who's again more thinking focused and really has a hard time with emotions, yeah,
That can
right.
be
With a
conflictual.
connector, same with a
Yeah.
connector. And yeah, so
Yeah.
I
It's
really don't tell
interesting
anybody to
that for
stay
you,
away.
as an activator, for you being the Crusader Whisperer, it's interesting because I'm an activator and I'm pretty sure that my husband is a Crusader. But my guess is that he's close to the Crusader Activator kind of
Yeah,
bridge. And so I definitely I find it interesting that we are both attracted to the same type.
yeah, yeah, and when I see that a lot because you think about it, Crusader's part activator. they're they're willing to go and do, right?
Yeah.
And we're both like their efficiency and we're action. I don't have time to waste. So it can be a great partnership there. We're like, let's go. Let's go hike tomorrow. Okay, sounds good. Where do we want to go? Where's it going to be fun? I'm like, where's it going to be fun? Where's it going to be safe? Like, right?
Yeah.
But but that's the good part of it. And food's not too different. I'm not going to do as well with grains and carbs where he might. He's going to do a little better with that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
like I'll have an almond flour waffle and he'll have a chickpea waffle. Like,
Okay.
that's how we do it, right? So,
Yeah,
like, a play around with
compatible.
and so you can work with that, but again, if you have that respect the other person, go, "Oh my god, you, like, just reacting so quickly, why don't you ever think about anything?" You can either create that strife or have some fun with it and
Mhm.
just go, "I'm direct AF." And they'll like direct, but they're also very sensitive to tone.
Yeah.
Very sensitive to tone. So they'll be the first ones to go, "I don't like that tone." I'm like, "What are you talking about tone?" I'm
Yeah.
just telling you what I think. Like, I thought I was being nice, but to them, it's tone. It could be tone in a text message. So,
Right.
I would
So
love
just
to do with
more to
dating.
more to show that really anyone who you fall in love with and who you feel attracted to, no matter what health type they are, it's about trying to find the compatibility between the two of
Oh,
you. Because just there's personalized health types, there's personalized relationship types. And so it sounds like you're saying there are no bad matches. It's like relationships are complex and you work at them. And
absolutely.
depending on where the compatibility lands and where the challenges land, the work is going to look different for different health types. But basically, trust your heart and where you're attracted and where you're pulled and do your best and try to have dignity and respect for the similarities and the differences and the overlap and allow people to be both similar and different from you.
Yeah, and in any relationship, so we're talking, like, romantic relationships here, but you brought up friendships. You and I, we see where our differences were, and in the beginning, I'm getting back to you quickly, and you weren't feeling good about that. And then I'm like, all right, hold on. Let me come back. Let's talk. We'd say, let's pick up the phone and talk. And when we
Mhm.
talked it out, we were actually on the same page, but we were just communicating differently.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah. And so now we have a great synergy together. It just took a little bit because of where we're coming from. We're just two different ways, the bull and the china, where my best friend, she is also another bull. So when you have two bull activators, and I've had other females like this where we interrupt each other all the time. We're gonna be like, I'm just saying. I'm like, I'm just saying, but how about this? Blah, 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 blah. And we took, and it was neither one of us responded to a last text message that she had sent. And this was in February. And here we tend to be stubborn. I'm like, should I reach out? Because I think about her and I miss her. But I felt how I felt, and I wasn't in the wrong here. I'm not reaching out. Finally, last week, Friday, I was just like, I just sent a message. I hope this and this for you. And she's like, oh my God, so good to hear from you. I've missed you. I've missed you running things off of me. She's a great sounding board because she doesn't think either. She's like, it's this way. How do you not know that? So I always know I'm going to get direct from her. But
Mhm.
we had come from just this one place where we both triggered each other. And that's what we do.
Mhm.
Where before we could talk through it, we were not in a place where we could talk through it. So we took a break and now we're like, it's like we don't miss a beat. Right?
Yeah.
Like we never
Yeah.
missed a so you have two hard heads. Think of two activators, two people driven by testosterone in their faces. Uh,
Mhm.
so we had to take that break. And same as again, my some of my Diplo friends or sensor friends that just need more of that solo time or quiet time. They're I'm like, why don't you go to this concert with me? I'll pass. I'm like, "Oh, come on." And they have to realize that that's not their jam. "Hey, let's go grab dinner." "Okay, that would be great." Learn to respect in any relationship, and that's what the beauty I say once you start doing pH360, you never look at anybody or anything the same again. You start to see things in a whole and people in a whole different light. And so a lot of my clients will say to even in the consult, "God, I feel heard for the first time. You know me better than I even know myself." Like, yeah, it can be a blessing and a curse. People think, I don't want to be analyzed. I'm not analyzing you. I'm understanding you. There's a
Yeah.
big difference. And the more we can understand ourselves and relay that, who we are, and accept ourselves and love ourselves through that in any type of relationship, whether it's work or personal, romantic, it's putting really our best self out there because our best self is our most authentic in that relationship. And it allows the other person to be themselves. And that's where you really have that beauty. But if you have someone that's like resistant to that, it can be like, I feel analyzed. Then you're triggering something in them. And that's
Right.
okay. That's where they are. They're just not ready for that information to help them. I try to help. And I know I should take the damn cap off, but sometimes it's hard. But
Ah,
when,
beautiful. So
yeah, match everything to the environment, you just create that flow and you're out of the shadow for the most of the time.
okay. Thank you. I feel like today's conversation taught me a lot about the work that you do and the way that you allude to different body types, and I hope it has served the listeners as well in that same way. And for you guys listening along, if you want to ask questions, send them to us.
Please,
Let us know,
please
like,
send
if
us
there's
questions.
yes, if there's loose ends or if you wanna have a follow-up, we could if you want more of this, we could do an episode on each of these health types for you in more depth. Just tell us where you're at and how this is landing, we welcome that. And Susan, just in the spirit of our new little tradition
Here we go.
of ending with our last question, I'll ask you, because epigenetics happens in the now with our choices and behaviors. What are you doing in your present life to cultivate a radiant life through epigenetics?
So I was in a hole, and you knew I was in a hole. I would come out here on this podcast for the last 8 months and put on a good face, but I was in a hole. I had the chronic back pain. I didn't sleep for a good 6 months. I was about in tears, and I just felt so low. I was b- total fatigue, so much inflammation. And about mid-April, early May, I went back to biohacking myself. I did the detox, my pH360 detox, and there's a detox. It's different for each health type around how we store fat and the organs we tax most, but then it's further individualized to that specific person. Did that, and that kind of jump started me. And I started really going back and looking at my metrics. I love my metrics because I was looking at my metrics and just seeing nothing's changing. I just keep feeling not ideal and I don't know what to do. Tweaked some things in my diet. I am sleeping like completely differently. My body is recovering like crazy. And my injuries, my injury was able to heal. I started concentrating more on my spiritual side, like around God. All these things started showing up around God. It's like, why is this happening? And so my faith became a lot more important to me in the last couple of months. And because I think, again, mind, body, soul, all of it affects us. And I'm back to CrossFit. My body composition is changing. I feel so in flow again. And so it's really for me, living my radiant life epigenetically is really embracing again that activator body I have, that connector brain I have, bringing that peace in, that calm, walking away from anybody and anything that is not in my highest good was another thing, which led to spending the most alone time I've ever spent in my life, and having such a connector part of me is very difficult for that, needing connection, but now I'm getting connection with the right people. I'm so grateful for you. And because, like you said, do you need some therapy? I'm like, how do I therapy or an exorcism? You weeks ago, right? But look where I am now. Again, like you feel it when you're in flow. And this is, I know my good genes are expressing and my bad genes, I think, are dialed down for the most part. And so just really tuning into me is what I'm doing. And I also want to add to what you said, ask us questions. If there's topics or guests, like, we're happy to reach out. We're happy to do topics that you guys are interested in. Communicate with us. We're not here to just listen to, I don't ever listen to these things back. Kate listens to them. I'm like, I'm too self-critical, but we're here for you guys. We want to bring you the information that you're looking for. If there's something that's, like she said, I want more of this, let us know. Give us feedback. This is what we're here. This is going to help us be better podcasters for you. Um,
Mhm.
so let us know. And I also want to thank the people that listen regularly, because I know you're out there because you tell us, and the newcomers for giving us a shot. Thank you. And for those of you that really give honest feedback, so very grateful. A lot of you have been given feedback and been with me since day one. And so with the listenership is just growing, and we're just so very grateful. And I'm, having done this myself for the last year, to have Kate come on has been just a really wonderful gift for me. And so I'm just, all of that, the gratitude again, I think is also a part of living my radiant life through epigenetics. And yeah. uh,
So beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for giving us the information and the download and for being your beautiful self. I've enjoyed this hour, and everybody get out there, make it a great day. What else do you say at the end here, Susan?
Be your most authentic self. And
Yes.
please, please share us with anybody, everybody. We just want to cause this ripple effect to help people be full of joy and
Have,
information.
have a beautiful day, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, we'd love for you to share it, leave a review or comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Help us get this information out to everyone who could benefit, and we'll keep bringing you the content you crave.
You can also check out our podcast site at everydayepigenetics.co and sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on upcoming episodes. The link is in the show notes.
If you're interested in DNA or epigenetic coaching with Susan, or Radiant Life coaching for deep inner work with Kate, our contact info is in the show notes below.
Now go and make it a great day and let your most authentic self shine.